When we look out into the solar system, we tend to view planetary rings as the majestic crown jewels of the cosmos, a beautiful, serene halo reserved for the distant, unapproachable gas giants. Then we look back at our own planet, a quiet, open sphere spinning alone in the dark. Beside those heavily armored giants, Earth feels remarkably fragile. But rings aren't born from peace. They are the debris of absolute destruction. There is a mathematical boundary around every planet called the Roche limit. This is the exact distance where a planet's gravity overpowers a moon's internal gravity. If an icy body crosses this line, it is instantly shredded. The fragments stretch out and collide, forming a chaotic, swirling disk trapped in orbit. We treat the idea of Earth getting its own ring system like a science fiction daydream, imagining breathtaking sunsets and a glowing night sky. But superimposing that massive cosmic structure over a world packed with 8 billion people breaks the physical stability of our planet. The acquisition of rings initiates a lethal, inescapable countdown for human civilization. Because Earth spins, its midsection bulges outward. That extra mass creates a stronger gravitational pull at the equator. A ring system couldn't just float at a random scenic angle. The physics of that bulge forces the debris to snap and lock perfectly over the equatorial line. If you were standing right on the equator, say walking down a street in Quito, Ecuador, you wouldn't see a wide band. Looking straight up, the rings would look like a perfectly straight, razor-thin laser cutting the sky in half. Travel north to temperate latitudes, and the geometry shifts entirely. Looking up from New York City or London, that thin line blooms into a colossal, shimmering arch, so massive it consumes a quarter of your entire field of view. But physical structures block light. Because Earth tilts on its axis as it orbits the sun, the rings would intercept incoming solar radiation. During winter, a sweeping black silhouette drapes over vast sections of the globe. With sunlight choked out, surface temperatures across temperate zones plummet. The fertile plains of North America and Europe are locked in a deep freeze, shielded from the sun's warmth. This physical barrier would instantly collapse the global agricultural system, plunging half the planet into an artificial, permanent winter. Surviving the cold is merely a physical engineering problem. The deeper trauma happens inside the human mind. Our psychology is entirely anchored by the assumption of an open, limitless sky. Replacing that infinite canvas with an unmoving cosmic ceiling triggers a primal terror known as mega-claustrophobia. It is the deep, subconscious panic of being physically trapped under the heavens, and that ceiling never turns off. At night, the millions of ice particles act like a relentless mirror, catching the sun's rays from over the horizon and bouncing them back down to Earth. The concept of true pitch-black darkness is entirely eradicated. Instead of night, the planet is bathed in a fiercely bright, eerie twilight. This constant illumination violently disrupts our circadian rhythms, the internal biological clocks we've evolved over millions of years to regulate sleep and recovery. Prolonged sleep deprivation causes a rapid spike in cortisol levels, degrading cognitive function and emotional regulation. Over months of perpetual twilight, this biological strain manifests as widespread irritability, deepening into chronic anxiety and a total breakdown in social cohesion. Humanity would find itself trapped in a cycle of neurological decay, driven toward madness by a sky that never turns off. You might assume a hyper-advanced spacefaring civilization like ours could engineer a way out of this, that a ringed Earth would be the ultimate launchpad for cosmic colonization. That assumes we could ever leave the atmosphere. Space is already crowded with thousands of delicate satellites. A ring system introduces trillions of hypervelocity ice bullets into that environment, creating a permanent orbital meat grinder known as the Kessler syndrome. Any object near the ring plane is instantly pulverized. The debris destroys nearby satellites, creating an unstoppable chain reaction. Within days, GPS, global banking, and the internet are wiped out. Without that orbital infrastructure, modern logistics and communication vanish. We are violently cast back into the living conditions of the 19th century, staring up at a sky we can never traverse. The rings transform into a planetary prison wall, rendering our greatest technological achievements useless. But the most terrifying thing about planetary rings is that they are not permanent structures. They are highly dynamic, deeply unstable, and constantly decaying. Over millennia, gravity pulls this debris down into the atmosphere in a process called ring. But if a rogue asteroid or a gravitational anomaly were to strike the edge of the rings, it would destabilize the entire system, turning a slow decay into a sudden cascade. Millions of tons of debris enter the atmosphere as a relentless bombardment of kinetic energy. The friction alone is enough to superheat the air and boil the surface of the oceans. As the skies melt, whatever is left of human civilization is forced into a grim final irony. We would watch the breathtaking crown of our planet physically collapse and become our own burning shroud. We spend our lives living out into the cold dark of the universe, wishing for more wonder, more beauty, and more sci-fi spectacles right in our own backyard. But the universe is incredibly hostile to life. Our plain, unremarkable, empty blue sky isn't a boring accident. It is the exact delicate condition required for us to exist and to remain sane enough to look up in the first place. If you woke up tomorrow and saw those majestic rings stretching across the horizon, would you admire the view, or would you recognize the ticking clock? Let us know in the comments if you think humanity could survive the shadow of the rings. And if you're ready to explore the darker truths of the cosmos, subscribe to Shadow Theory.